Northman.
Northman. So,
Yeah, what coming into Northman then? So we've seen The Witch.
yes,
Which I wish I liked it more than I did.
I like it a lot. Yeah.
It left me feeling a bit cold, but I admired it, and I really liked what he was doing, and I liked the ending, and I liked the performances, but there's something about it that didn't quite connect for me. But I did
cold, yeah.
I did admire it. I did. Lighthouse, which I thought was
I love that.
Really good and just unexpected and different and kind of mad and scary and then silly and funny and then having farting and burping alongside these quite weird, disturbing imagery at times. So seeing the trailer for this, thinking, I like this type of thing anyway. Well, do I? I don't really watch the Vikings TV show and stuff like that, but I like these kind of historical settings for these sort of films. I love the Vikings Kirk Douglas movie. That's less realistically accurate than this one, I would say. The one with where Tony Curtis keeps his New York accent, but there you go. And then because of the director attached to it, made me more interested than perhaps if it wasn't him. If it was just an unknown director, I probably wouldn't have been quite so hyped up about it.
Now, Rob, while trying to convince the good lady wife to watch this with me, I think you gave me a one sentence synopsis. What did you say? It was Braveheart, Excalibur.
No, I think it's Hamlet and Macbeth. The people have talked about the Hamlet stuff. We'll talk about that in a bit. I think it's Hamlet and Macbeth mixed in with possibly the Green Knight and Excalibur. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's those sort of things. I think it's got some of that stuff from Excalibur, which is what is that 70s now? Excalibur's well old, isn't it? That's another one for a rewatch one day. It's got that slightly sort of historical, but mixed in with magic and myth, hasn't it? Sort of mixed in with it. It's a little bit with that. It's about things being destiny and all that sort of stuff, and heritage of being a king and stuff. The Macbeth stuff, I suppose, maybe with some bit of the witchcrafty stuff. The Hamlet bit, because the plot is Hamlet, isn't it?
It is. So
revenge on my uncle. The blurb is
spoilers ahead, by the way. Yeah, just in case. It's not that it's that kind of film. I think you can spoil it. Well, it could possibly be. But yeah,
I think we could talk. Well, yeah. This might be something not a lot of people have seen, so we should keep this fairly spoiler light, I think, because
let me just sort of say a proviso here. This isn't like a big budget actiony film, is it? It's very muted colour palette. It's hard. It's a hard life, isn't it? They're living out in. There's not a lot of. Now, fans of the show will know me and Rob love the Green Knight, and for me that really has got that Excalibur, weird, mystical. This for me isn't quite as mystical as that. It's a little bit more.
There's a few trippy, dreamy bits.
There are.
And shaman-type witch people seeing the future. A little bit, yeah.
A little bit of that. But it's like as you say, it's a revenge. The trailer shows this. He's a kid. The Northman is his kid. His dad is the king of their tribe, or whatever they call it, the leader of their tribe, and he gets killed. And as a kid, he vows vengeance on the killer. And then as the film
cost, no matter what, yeah.
No, and then as the film goes on, I think, and I read this on a review somewhere, it shows that life isn't always black and white. The good people aren't always good. The bad people aren't always bad. And so there's a bit later on where, I'm just going to jump away, where he finds the man that killed his father, and actually you kind of show him in a more positive light than he did.
Yeah, there's more to it than what he thought was to it when he was a little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason why that's there.
Were you put off by Nicole Kidman being in this because she's such a big star and a well-known?
No, I thought. No, I didn't find it distracting at all.
I thought it was going to be, but actually it wasn't at all. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, she was good.
It's surprising to see her in it. I mean, she wasn't distracting like the way she was in Aquaman, but I suppose the whole of Aquaman's distracting and annoying.
Yeah.
I found that with this, what took me a little bit by surprise is some of the stuff I'd seen from the trailer, which makes it look a bit more full-on battle-y.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff with him with his long hair raging around with his shirt off. It's kind of in the very start of the film, isn't it, really?
Yes.
because then when they head off to Iceland, it all kind of calms down, and it's more, and then it becomes a slow burn revenge.
It's a very slow burn, isn't it? And
yeah, because you would think from the trailer, you might think it is just going to be more Bravehearty, and but it doesn't do that. It takes its time a little bit instead.
It's long sweeping shots of the countryside, and it's long sweeping shots of somebody chopping wood, and long sweeping shots of somebody braiding someone's hair. But again, so there's a bit, isn't there, where he, as a young man, he's working, if that's right, with another Viking clan, and they go to a village, don't they? And they basically just burn it down and kill everybody. That is interesting, because he's not that good a guy. He's not really that good a guy.
This is interesting. We watched this film at the time because our topic we were just coming to an end at with my kids at school. We've just done the Vikings and the Anglo-Saxons, and you touch on it with primary school children. This idea of they used to come and invade and have battles, and people would get killed, and they'd steal from monasteries and all that sort of stuff. And you say these things, and some people just it's just washing over their heads, because it's just historical battles, whatever that means. Historical battle. There you go, and you don't really give it any much thought.
Exactly.
But when you're watching a film like this, where they're trying to show it fairly realistically, it's bloody horrible.
Yeah, because they take people as slaves.
They're just like mass murderers.
Yeah, they're literally
killing, raping, stealing, but killing kids, anything.
They lock a load of people in a barn and set it on fire.
Yeah.
But again, the filming style is that thing where the camera goes along slowly, and as it's going along, things are happening. So it goes in between houses, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and
it's
you can see things going on.
Yeah, like is it a tracking shot? Yeah, well, when they put the camera on like a sort of a railway sort of track, isn't it? So I guess is that what they call it? Yeah, it just moves along. It does that in like Apocalypse Now, doesn't it? When the camera's just moving along, and Stanley Kubrick does it a lot as well. So it does that sort of thing, which is nice. I mean, you can tell it's not a mega budget, but I think what it does with the budget it's got is pretty impressive.
It really was, wasn't it? And watching it, I turned to my wife and I was like, "This life is hard, isn't it? It's." So when he, I'm going to try not to spoil it, but when he sort of gets to the latter third of the film, when he's kind of found the guy, it's brutal. It's a brutal life, isn't it?
Yeah, harsh. Yeah, it's very harsh. I think the thing that held my attention with this, and my wife just thought the trailer was dreadful. She's like, "Well, that looks so corny and obvious and lame," and I went, "What? That looks great." I do like he's just he's not quite a force and age, but he's so animalistic, isn't he?
He's so hell bent on revenge. It's all consuming, isn't it?
And when there's that scene when you see a bunch of the Vikings all dancing around the fire and they're all like howling, and it's almost slightly funny at first when they'll start doing it, and then you realise it's quite intense. That there's quite a few scenes like that when he's so intense. I just thought he must really build himself up ready before the. You can't just go and action and just get into that mode.
Yeah.
There's the stuff where he's just like he's full on and he's like screaming and.
Without spoilers, Rob, there's a scene with him and Nicole Kidman, and I gotta say her acting was amazing. She's really visceral, isn't she? She's really kind of like.
Yeah, she's interesting in this actually.
Tough speaking and quite.
Maybe because I've not really seen her in much lately, but this kind of sort of reminded me that she's an interesting actress. It's an interesting character, interesting material for her to do. But is it that unusual for her? I don't know. That's just.
Well, the last time I saw him was that I Love Lucy thing, and I think I mentioned that. I don't know if it was the makeup, but she looked full of filler. But in this, she didn't. She looked like a regular lady, But again, they're not done up to look beautiful, are they? It's a hard life. They're battered and beaten.
They did a really interesting thing with all the night scenes. Look like I'm no expert, but it looks like it's day for night filming. So they film it in the day, and then they color, they do things to it, and that's how they used to They used to do that a lot in old films,
right?
Because everything was really clear at night, wasn't it?
Yes,
it was. So it's kind of turned to this black and white image, but it wasn't in the darkness and tons of shadows that you'd expect if it was truly nighttime. So things were still really like pin sharp in the dark. I've not looked up how he did that, but I assume it's filmed in the daylight and then they just done something to it. So I thought that was interesting. What's her name from
Anya
Taylor-Joy?
Yeah, she's always great.
She's good. I mean, she doesn't have a lot to do. I did feel like anyone, some other actress could have played that. Really,
there's a lot of. Again, I know I said there wasn't too much mysticism, but he has these visions, doesn't he? And he's so intense, isn't he? He's like really.
It's got a real sense of the mysticism side of it, which made me think of Excalibur. It's just this, with Excalibur, it's like this is going to happen. You are going to die here, and this person is going to kill you.
Yeah.
And Macbeth does the same thing, doesn't it? Where with Macbeth, it's just saying
you can't escape fate, can you?
Yeah. So it's like him. I don't know. It's just. I mean, he has a. This is getting into a bit more spoilery stuff now, but he does have a chance to break away from his path of vengeance, doesn't he?
But I think
he has a chance, and he goes, and he's like, no, I can't. I've got to do this.
Yeah, I think he's too far gone. I think that's all he's known. And in a different film, perhaps the love of a woman will help him recover. But in this, at that point, he feels like it is his destiny, and he can't get away from it.
What did you think of Willem Dafoe's scene where they're on their hands and knees farting and burping?
Brilliant. It was like a wild shaman mushroom drink induced hypnotic fit, wasn't it? I like
that. There's bits like that which reminded me, this is the director of The Lighthouse watching there. There's some I don't know whether perhaps it's not really built up. I didn't really think of it as particularly violent as I was watching, but then I started thinking about the stuff that's happened in it. It is actually dead violent, isn't it?
It really is. And so much so, again, I convinced my wife to watch it with me, and then I did. I'm gonna call this now the Jar Jar Binks move, and it's that thing where I sort of went to scratch the side of my head and put my hand up so she wasn't looking at me, because I thought this is really heavy and really, really strong in places, and it's not the kind of film she likes, and I've made her watch it. It is, even though they kind of look away. So there's a bit, isn't there, where as a kid he cuts off a guy's nose, and you see this guy later on. But you see him killing people. I am glad to say that they didn't linger on the raping too much, even though they take people as their slaves. That would have been a bit too strong, I think.
It is. Well, it is.
It's mentioned.
I mean, the main character's not squeamish at what happens to bodies, hacking and chopping.
Oh, yeah. There's more arms and legs chopped off in this than there is in a Star Wars thing, isn't there? And he's a complete badass, isn't he? He's without
his physicality. He carried himself. He wasn't carrying himself like a muscle man, like He-Man. It was like his shoulders really hunched over forwards and like an animal.
Yeah. What did you think of the final fight at Hell's Gate, which I thought was so again, it's in like chapters, isn't it? A bit like I'm trying to think. Was it Green Knight in chapters? I can't remember now.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah,
and I thought.
Yeah, because it goes. You've got that almost sort of more natural, real scenery in the middle section, and then in the end, it kind of ramps itself up into epic territory again, doesn't it?
They talk about "I'll see you in hell," and I think, what are they talking about? Like, do they literally mean the afterlife? Because there's a lot of talk, isn't there, about an honourable death. His dad, Ethan Hawke, says, as a kid, I can't die an old man. I've got to die in honour in battle. So that was good to say. But at the end, sorry for a little spoiler, it's a volcano, and they call that Hell's Gate, don't they? And I thought, oh, okay, that's good, in Iceland. It was good. It wasn't what I expected the ending to be. I'm not going to spoil it. It wasn't and I went, oh, God. For the entirety of this film, I could not look away. I don't know whether it's the cinematography, the style of acting, the really brutal special effects that were like very realistic, weren't they? It had me gripped quite, throughout, really. I mean, the first time you see him as an adult, he's rowing, isn't he? And he's got that look, hasn't he? And he's looking kind of at the camera with such ferocity and such intensity.
It is that intensity which I'm trying to think of the last time I saw something like that. Was
Burning him up, isn't it?
Well, it's a bit like, in some ways, stuff like Taxi Driver or Joker, when you feel like these characters are a bit unhinged, really, and you think, are they going? I was waiting for them to maybe explode or something. Have you ever seen Dead Man's Shoes?
Don't think so. But what's the film with?
Because Paddy Considine in that has got this same kind of intensity where you just think, I would not want to mess with you in the slightest.
What's the film with Robert De Niro and there's a scene where he's in the cinema and he's covered in tattoos and he's smoking and he's laughing and
Cape Fear.
Oh, Cape Fear. Robert De Niro and that is terrifying, isn't he?
So it's just
it's intense, isn't he? Very good film though. But again, listeners, this is not a big budget action film. This isn't like, I'm trying to think, it's not like your Mission Impossible or your Marvel or your James Bond type film. It's kind of art house, isn't it?
No, Rob? Yeah, I mean, it's not a historical film. I mean, this is. It's not even like Gladiator or Troy or those.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
It's not as mainstream as that. It's bloodier and it's lower budget and it's a bit grimmer than those sorts of things. But if you like those kind of things, if you like your Bravehearts and your Gladiators and Green Knights and that sort of thing, then I think you'll like it. Just be prepared that it is a little bit of a slower burn than some of those things are. But I really enjoyed it. How many? Actually, it's the second time in as many podcasts that I'm rating things in terms of dismembered limbs. But how many dismembered limbs out of 10 would you? I was
going to say, how many Anya Taylor-Joy wide-eyed stares at the camera were you going to give it? I really enjoyed it. I'm going to say 8. I'd like to watch it again.
8.
But
yeah, I think I'd give it. I think I'd probably give it 8 farting and burping Willem Dafoe's out of 10.
What I will say though, it's that kind of film where you can't just watch it again. You've got to be in the right mood for it. It's a bit like watching Zack Snyder's 4-hour black and white cut. It's probably once or twice a year you're going to want to watch this just to get your head into that art house vibe again.
Yeah.
Cool.